Even though it's been half a decade, my memories playing Undertale for the first time remain strong. My middle schooler self had no idea what he was getting into, but my first time playing was definitely one of those gaming experiences that I wish I could have all over again. I love the music, I had a lot of fun with the game's unique combat system, and I was invested in all the charming characters. By the time I had finished the 5 Metaton, I knew this was a great game. But it was the scene after this, where Undertale became more than just a great game. It's hard to say that the scene where the monsters tell their story before your fight with Asgore needs any introduction, but out of all the moments in Undertale, it's the most iconic to me. Before this point, the plot of Undertale was still fairly simple. Monsters were locked into the underground by a magic barrier long ago, and now you're in this world with the goal of escaping. The story was defined by your journey of exploring the underground and growing attached to its inhabitants. A story that's simple to understand, but carries complex opportunities with it, and that's exactly what this scene is like. You can sum up what these monsters say in a paragraph. A kid had fallen into the underground, was found by the Prince Asriel, and then taken in by the royal family. Eventually, the human child died of an illness, and Asriel took in their soul in order to carry their body back to their village. The humans believed Asriel had killed the human himself, and was mortally wounded by their attacks. As he returned back home from the attacks, he perished. This kicked off Asgore's actions of taking the soul of any human that enters in order to break the barrier once and for all. This exposition is already tragic enough to describe, but it's all about how that information is conveyed. A story isn't just the information it has, but how that information is shared to a viewer, and that's what heightens this backstory. This story is being told to you by the monsters themselves, the monsters that you've been encountering the whole game. Instead of being silly and humorous like their encounters usually are, they're all earnest with everything they say, and are in perfect cooperation with each other in telling this story. There are no jokes at all. When it comes to what happened to the King and Queen's children, all these monsters carry universal pain and sorrow that humanizes them. Many of these monsters may have comedic personalities, but underneath all that are people, trying to make the most of the bad hand they've been given, and then having any hope they made be shattered all over again. The last time they interacted with humans, they were only given hatred and punishment, but a human child being taken in by the King and Queen showed that not only was it possible for humans and monsters to be at peace together, but be family with each other. They gave nothing but love to the child, even when humans were the ones to banish them. Losing that human, losing that family member, took such a toll on the monsters that it's hard for them to even properly say the words, "the human died," with no way to give them their last request before death, no matter how much they wanted to. And even when Asriel stops himself from attacking, even when he shows kindness and mercy to those that show aggression, he is only given punishment by the humans like they've done so before. This moment is so tragic because throughout the whole game, being merciful to those that you could easily kill always worked out. It rewarded you, and showed that there were other means to peace that weren't violence. But for Asriel, that mercy only led to his death. That choice between killing and sparing monsters is also important for this scene. If your only option was to kill any, this scene would not work because as far as you're concerned, these monsters would just be obstacles that you use to get more powerful. Your first experiences with this moment can be different based on if you killed any enemies. There may not be this lingering regret you have as a result, but if you've already spared everyone, then there's this rewarding feeling for putting in that effort to care about the characters in this game. Regardless of your route though, the scene shows that there really were layers to all these monsters that you had yet to see. The starting location looks exactly like the home you're at the beginning of the game, but now lacking all the color, except the joy from this home has all faded away, except for the flowers. A brilliant way for this game to come full circle, including that iconic mirror with words that carry a weight far beyond the game itself. This mirror is such a simple payoff, but it can be interpreted in so many ways for so many people that it emotionally hits in a scene that's already emotionally hitting. This is all without even mentioning the track that plays during this scene, Undertale, which is one of the most powerful tracks I've ever heard in a video game, that's timed perfectly with the length of this scene, that just keeps getting more and more powerful as the track goes on. It's an utterly beautiful combination of two leitmotifs that will never get old to listen to. From the moment that guitar starts playing, to the final notes of his theme at the end, it's both a sad yet uplifting track at the same time. And that's why this moment is so emotional. It's sad but hopeful at the same time. Despite all the monsters have gone through and having their hopes repeatedly crushed, they still have the strength to keep going. You may be close to meeting Asgore, the king who have to kill you in order to free the monsters, but this scene isn't about you. How Frisk is supposed to feel at this point is honestly up to you. But that's not the focus. The monsters are the ones who have to find emotions, the ones that you empathize with, and that's exactly what Undertale is about. Empathizing with others, understand their own emotions, stories, hopes, dreams, desires. This is why Frisk is a silent protagonist. This is why choosing between killing and sparing is such a big deal. This is why Undertale is as loved as it is. It is an experience that gives you the opportunity to show kindness and care and feel reward for putting in that effort, because it wasn't a path that was just handed to you. This scene puts all of that into perspective. It's not your actual reward for doing a pacifist route, but it's your reward for getting this far into the game. It builds up the fight with Asgore, you finally learn about the existence of Azrael, a character who's at the core of the finale in the pacifist route, a character who barely has any screen time as their true form, but the player still ends up caring about them so much. This moment marked the point where Undertale's scope and themes widened into the beautiful game we know it today. There are many other moments I love in this game, but this is the one I think will forever stick with me the most. I believe it's when Undertale truly became a game I would never forget. I believe it is Undertale's best moment. Well, that seems like a good place to call it. If you like this video at all, subscribing, liking, all that junk would be very appreciated. If you're into stuff like Undertale, then you'd probably also be interested in these videos I've done in the past. It's, you know, I've kind of been a Undertale high right now. I wanted to just make a video like this, even if it was quick. But with all that said, I'm going to head off now, so take care, and happy anniversary, Undertale.